Well, good morning and welcome to our Tree of Life Unitarian Universalist congregation service, our worship service. My name is Ron Relic. I use he, him pronouns. I'm your worship leader this morning. And please silence your electronic devices, which I will do as well, while I read announcements. Brief announcements today. The book club. Is Ivy Sitkowski here? I don't know. Oh, there you are, Ivy. Book club meets this Friday, August 7th at 7 p.m. in the library. We'll be discussing the book club for troublesome women. Are there really such women? Oh, the book club for troublesome women by Marie Bostwick. Join us in person or online for a conversation about this book that takes the reader back to the roots of the women's movement. If you have any questions, contact Ivy, and she is right there. Easy to contact today. So be sure to check out the newsletter, which are the happenings, for more information about all those and more announcements. Now, we're talking about the connection cards. I don't know if you know about these, if you haven't been here in a while. They're relatively new. These are connection cards. Everybody gets handed one, okay? If you do not have one, raise your hand, and we'll get one to you. Everybody got one, connection card? For those of you joining online, our tech team will put a link to the card in the chat. So these cards are designed to help you feel seen, heard, supported when you're visiting. If you're visiting for the first time today or are a longtime member, everything you share in the card will be reviewed by a group of volunteers tomorrow. Will help you connect with the information or the care as needed. Two sides of the card. You know, if you're an old-time member like me, maybe you can just put your name in there, and if you have any concerns or what's on your heart today, fill that out. On the front, we'd love to hear how you're doing. If you're new, we encourage you to fill out the contact information so that we can send you a little welcome gift. The reverse side offers a reflection question. This week, we want you to think about what's on your mind. We offer several ways for you to get involved. We can help you connect to event leaders, some of whom are here today, and you can volunteer. If you complete your card, you can place it in the offering plate as it goes around, or you can step over to the connections table over where Leah's sitting there today. There'll be several people over there, Judy Beyer, I think, as well, and Mariella over here. We'll be able to be over at the connection table and talk to you more about the church altogether. So visitors are welcome there, and we guarantee bright conversation. Bright conversation. Well, how about that? I hope we haven't overpromised. So now let's share greetings with everyone else who is online this morning. If you wish, you may turn on your cameras out there in online land. There we are. Hello, there is Sandra. All right, hello there. Sharing community, wherever we might be. Thank you all. We're going to begin the worship today with a Tibetan singing bowl. As the sound fades on the ringing, I'll tap it down, allow yourself to arrive fully in this moment. Notice the silence that follows. It's always been here, waiting beneath the sounds of everyday life. There's nothing you need to accomplish, nothing you need to be. Be present, here, now, and open.
Good morning. It's always a pleasure to be here. My name is Gina Swinney. My pronouns are she and her. And this is my first time to worship with you in your new space. And it's lovely. And it's reminiscent, right, of home, right? So I would love it if you would join me in a responsive call to worship. We gather from many paths, carrying both hope and uncertainty. We come seeking courage for ourselves, for one another, and for the world. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is the choice to move forward with compassion, even when the way is unclear. May we have the courage to speak truth in love. May we have the courage to listen with open hearts. May we have the courage to challenge injustice, welcome difference, and embrace change. May we have the courage to grow beyond what we have been. May we find strength in community. And may we leave this place more willing to live into our values with boldness and courage. The light of our shared experience of the sacred is now reignited, recreating here our shared sacred space for reflection and meditation. A light of compassion and wisdom, nurtured in our lives and expressed in our choices and our actions. In the search for truth, may we be just. In the search for justice, may we be loving. And in loving, may we find peace.
Please join in recalling our mission statement. At Tree of Life UUC, we nurture a community that welcomes diversity, supports the spiritual growth of its members, and acts to create a more just society. The sharing of our joys and concerns is a sacred moment. To help us grow in community, we invite you to share a brief statement about your joy or concern. Those here may form a line along here. Speak into the mic, which we'll make sure is on. And when you've finished, place a pebble in the bowl. I will place a pebble for those online and those unexpressed joys and concerns that remain in your hearts. Online participants may raise their hand in chat, and when I call upon you, please unmute yourself. All right? So our first concern is for the family of Heather Medaus. Jason Medaus' father passed away on Thursday. Long time having cancer. And his wife, Kim, would appreciate cards and letters, all that. You'll find that. That came out in the announcement today also for this service.
Morning, Sandy Eckert. My joy this past couple of weeks has been to spend my 80th birthday with my entire family. We're a small group, but my boys felt we needed to do a special outing and gathering for my birthday, and we met in Seattle for 6 days, and it was just lovely. Both sons, daughters-in-law, and 2 grandsons and me.
Yay!
Hi, Ivy Sitkoski, she, her. I have both a joy and a concern. My joy is that my daughter Sabrina and her husband Sam celebrated their first anniversary on the 31st. We are going out to dinner with them tonight, and this is where the concern comes in. Sam's mom and stepdad were supposed to fly in from Arizona and stay with them, and they were going to be joining us for dinner, and at the very last minute at the airport, Sam's mom wasn't feeling well. She has some health issues, and they had a huge delay like a 5-hour delay where they had to be on the tarmac. I didn't understand the whole thing, but anyway, she started to not feel well, and she had been in the hospital the previous Sunday, and we're concerned about her. So if you could hold her in your thoughts and in your heart. Thank you.
Hi, Leah Mickelson, she, her, and I have a joy. Wilbur was sick all last weekend. It came to a climax Sunday night. Monday, we took them to the hospital. They had an emergency appendectomy, first time having surgery, but they did well. And then they came home on Tuesday. Then we were back in the hospital on Wednesday for uncontrolled pain. But now they're home, and they are doing great, so it's nice to be young. And
And one more stone for those unexpressed joys and concerns that we hold on our hearts today. Oh, online, I'm sorry. Yes, yes. Anybody online? Going once, going twice. And there we are. All right.
The compassion and trust of our beloved community flows from each of us. Each of our joys and concerns, both spoken and unspoken, are embraced in this mutual love and respect of our beloved community. Please rise in body or spirit to sing hymn number 6, Just as Long as I Have Breath.
Just as long as I have breath, I must answer yes to life. Though with pain I made my way, still with hope I meet each day. If they ask what I did well, tell them I said yes to life. Just as long as vision lasts, I must answer yes to truth. In my dream and in my dark, always that elusive spark. If they ask what I did well, tell them I said yes to truth. Just as long as my heart beats, I must answer yes to love. Disappointment pierced me through, still I kept on loving you. If they ask what I did best, tell them I said yes to love.
So I'm looking around the room and I'm seeing faces that look familiar and faces that look new, to me anyway. I can't remember the last time I was with you, but it's probably been a few months. So for those of you who don't know, my name is Gina Swinney. I am a retired educator. I worked with Sandy. Happy birthday wherever you are, Sandy. Happy birthday. I am a certified lay speaker. I'm a United Methodist and a certified lay speaker, so I stand in the pulpit a lot for the Methodist Church and have been blessed to also stand in your presence. So that's a little bit about who I am. Now, I have 2 children, Sarah and John, both McHenry born and bred and educated, and Sarah actually is a teacher in Woodstock. And she works at Northwood Middle School. She teaches math. And I don't know where she got that skill. Must be her dad, because I'm a words person. I'm an English major, taught English. As a matter of fact, we just got a new puppy, and we named her Scout. Right? I knew you guys would get the connection. People look at me and go, huh? And then I say, well, I taught English. Huh? To Kill a Mockingbird. Oh, yeah. So anyway, Sarah and her husband Josh have blessed us with 2 grandchildren. And our grandson is 7. And he has been very reluctant to learn to ride his bike. And last summer, he almost had it, and then bam, he hit a curb, went to the ground, walked away from the bike forever. This summer, I offered several times. I don't know quite how this happened, but teaching him how to ride his bike became my job, right? And I'm absolutely thrilled. But it was like, oh, this is cool. I get to teach him to ride a bike. So this summer, I offered him several times. I said, hey, why don't I come over and we'll learn to ride your bike? And I offered that several times. And I finally said, well, it's your choice. And he goes, Gaga, do I have to ride a bike? I mean, is that something I have to do? I said, no. I said, if you don't want to ride a bike, you don't have to ride a bike. It's just, it would give you an opportunity to have something more fun to do. But if you don't want to ride a bike, you don't have to. Well, then his little sister, who's 5, decided one day she wanted to take the training wheels off of her bike and give it a try. And wouldn't you know that she had a successful first attempt, right? Well, within minutes, she was tooling up and down the sidewalk, turning corners. This is so much fun. Sibling competition inspired him to give it another try. And it only took a few minutes before he, too, was riding successfully. Hallelujah, we all thought. And then, a couple of days later, his other grandparents were visiting, and he wanted to show them that he'd learned how to ride a bike. Well, all went well until he turned the handlebars too quickly, went down, hit his mouth on one of the handlebars, and there was blood everywhere. So once again, I am not going to ride this bike. Right? So we're back to square one. However, his little sister kept serving as a constant reminder. So he came up to me a few days later and he said, I want to get back on my bike, but I'm scared. And I said, well, I understand. And there are going to be many times in your life where you're going to want to do something and it's going to be scary. And then I asked him what he was afraid of. I said, what scares you? I'm afraid of getting hurt. Been there, right? And I said, Ethan, do you know what courage means? And he says, yes. It means not being afraid. Grandparent teaching moment. I said, no, honey. Courage doesn't mean not being afraid. Courage means being afraid and doing it anyway, right? It doesn't take courage to do something you're not afraid to do. It takes courage to do that which we fear. I'm not sure what kind of impact that had, but he went home, and shortly after I received a video from our daughter showing me that he was riding his bike again. I have a friend who's afraid of heights. If she climbs a ladder or stands on a second floor outdoor balcony, she's going to break out into a sweat. I can climb a ladder and stand on a roof. without any trouble. It doesn't take courage for me to clean out a gutter. But for her to climb that ladder would take every bit of courage she has. Conversely, if a mouse goes scurrying across the floor in front of me, I am a screaming wreck. I once did a complete floor to the top of my desk when I was a teacher because not a squirrel, but a chipmunk somehow got in and went running across the room. I leapt from floor to desk. And one of my very brave sophomore boys caught it and took it outside. I still remember his name. He still gets Christmas. But I do remember his name. Now, my friend who's afraid of ladders, mice don't scare her a bit. So courage is situational, right? And personal. Fear is situational and personal too. Now, we tend to equate courage with heroism. The firefighter who rushes into a burning building. The soldier. The good Samaritan who saves someone's life. But the truth of the matter is that being courageous does sometimes change a life forever, right? Sometimes those courageous acts of heroism change a life forever. Earlier this summer, I went on vacation to the Henry Ford Museum. How many of you have been there in Dearborn? And surprisingly, I'm a native of Michigan. I was in Michigan until I graduated with my bachelor's degree. But I'd never been to the Henry Ford Museum, and I really didn't know what to expect. And one of the first exhibits I saw was the limousine that carried JFK on that fateful day in Dallas. And I'm like, wow. You know, and I'm looking in, trying to get as good a look as I can. And I'm walking around and my head is kind of swimming. It's like, that was the limousine. And then I turned a corner and I saw a yellow, white, and green city bus. And we happened to be in Dearborn on a day when the heat index was 107. And there weren't a lot of people venturing out. So the museum was pretty empty. So I just walked up onto the bus, and I'm looking at the bus, and I'm like, okay. And it wasn't all that big. It was old. And there was a docent sitting on the bus, and he said, would you like to sit in this seat? I'm like, okay. So I sat down in that seat. It was a green, leatherish seat with a silver bar handle across the top. And he said, that's the exact seat she was sitting in when she was arrested. Suddenly I was overwhelmed by the weight of history and the years of teaching the civil rights movement to juniors in high school. And something stirred deep inside of me, and I realized I was sitting in the exact seat, or on the exact bus, in the exact seat from which Rosa Parks was arrested in Montgomery, Alabama in 1955. Talk about a life-changing act of courage for not only one individual, Rosa, but for entire generations of people who were involved in that movement and who maintain involvement in civil rights. But not all acts of courage are such big events. Maybe the best way to look at courage is that it sits on a continuum. So riding a bike is at one end of the continuum, and life-endangering sacrifice is at the other. Because true courage is not always found in dramatic events. true courage isn't always watched by an audience. I dare say it's harder to display courage when no one is watching. It's hard to follow your values and beliefs knowing there may be no acknowledgement from anyone, and it's possible that if there is acknowledgement, it's going to be filled with anger and contempt. Private acts of courage are things like being honest with yourself when it's painful, or admitting you were wrong, or forgiving quietly without needing recognition, or maintaining hopeful despite what's going on in the world. It takes a lot of courage to do the right thing just because it's the right thing to do. Now, I'm a fair athlete and a decent performer, and I've always preferred to play on a team. As a youth, I played softball and I played tennis, right, as part of a team. When I was in high school, there was no Title IX yet, so I played tennis and I played on the boys' team because I didn't have a team I could play on as a female. Then later in high school, I became a theater kid. And it's impossible to produce anything theatrically without teamwork. Most of my career, I worked with people. I was on an administrative team, or I was a member of an English department, or part of a faculty. And at various times in each of these situations, I found myself struggling between group acceptance and personal integrity. When you work on a team, that happens. You know what I'm talking about. Those times of conflict when the right thing to do isn't always the popular thing to do, and you risk being ostracized by your team if you don't go along with the majority. Those times when that little voice squeaks in your ear, don't swim against the current, my friend, or you're going to be swimming alone. Those times when you're forced to choose between going along with the crowd and living courageously by living your truth. Right now in America, we are living in a political and social climate that almost forces us to make the choice between going along or living our truth, no matter what political affiliation you agree with. You either have to go along or you have to face the consequences of that if you don't. But as people of faith, and you just recited these words a few minutes ago as your mission statement, we honor the inherent worth and dignity of every person. And we fight for justice rooted in love, not rooted in anger or vengeance. And some days, neutrality seems impossible, especially on those days when you feel as though we have been slapped in the collective face. Sometimes it takes effort to honor the inherent worth and dignity of every person. Now, hopefully, life has given us opportunities to practice not only honoring other people, but honoring our own virtues and values. We're taught to honor others a lot. That starts early, right? That's preschool. Don't hit. That's not nice, right? Play well with others. I don't always do that, but I'm still working on it. But we are not taught to honor ourselves. Right? We don't necessarily get those lessons early unless they're coming from mom and dad and grandparents and brothers and sisters. We are told to honor the inherent worth of others, but not necessarily to really spend a lot of time looking within to see, what do I value? What do I honor? What's important to me? What is my dignity? And that's so important because we need to practice, because who we become alone eventually shapes who we are together. Something moves us when we look internally. Something guides us, and it's different. We're not all guided by the same thing, but there is something individually and collectively that pushes us towards being better humans. For many, that is a belief in a transforming higher power. Believing in something greater than public opinion. That makes us less dependent on others' approval. When our identity is grounded in a higher power, the fear of rejection and criticism may not cut so deeply. Believing in a higher power provides a sense of companionship and that feeling that no matter where we are, no matter what we're doing, no matter who is with us or who is not with us, we are never alone. Remember, courage comes when we are pushed out of our comfort zone. It takes courage to face what we fear. Here's a story. Two travelers came to a narrow suspension bridge placed high above a deep canyon. I can tell you already, my friend would not be on that bridge. Now, the first traveler, crossed that bridge without even slowing down. Wobble and all, right? He whistled a tune as he crossed that bridge, and steps never faltered. The second traveler stood frozen. This traveler's steps were slow and shaky. And it appeared as if the second traveler would certainly turn around and forget it. But instead, the second traveler continued on and crossed the bridge. Now, a child standing by was asked, which of these two travelers was the bravest? The child responded, well, the first. The first traveler never hesitated but walked confidently across that bridge. And another bystander smiled at the boy and shook her head, saying, the first traveler wasn't afraid to cross the bridge, so it cost that traveler nothing. The second traveler kept putting one foot in front of the other, even though every fiber of this traveler's being wanted to turn back. Courage isn't measured by how calm you look. It's measured by what you do when you're afraid. I'd like to give you 3 options for something to be in reflection about. Okay? So you decide which one you like, and I will give you some time to just spend a few minutes reflecting. First one. What fears require courage for you to face? Okay? What are your personal needs for courage? Second, are there times when you swam against the current and paid a price for doing the right thing, even though you knew it would come with a cost? And if so, what did you learn? And the third, what comfort can your adult self offer your younger self about the advantages of being courageous and facing your fears? Everybody got one? All right. Spend a couple of moments in quiet reflection. Deviate from the norm here for just a little bit, because I'm a teacher and because you guys are seated at tables. If you're comfortable, could you share with each other for just a little bit? Share what you either learned, share what came up for you. And you don't have to, but I want to give you an opportunity to process that by speaking it out loud to someone else. How about you? Thank you for indulging me in that moment. I hope you found it beneficial. Fear is such an immobilizer. And I think, as I look back over my life and my career, it really does get better later. It really does. I mean, when I look back on my life and my career and the things that I was afraid of or the things that caused me angst or kept me up all night or caused arguments and confrontation, looking back on it, it was all for the good of creating who I am today. And it was all good. It just wasn't all pleasant. So fear truly is something that we are plagued with, that advertisers continue. You know, fear is an advertising appeal. Right? I used to teach a class called media analysis, and there are many advertising appeals, and fear is. Do you all? Now you're not probably going to. This table's not going to remember this commercial, but do you remember? This is your brain, right? This is your brain on drugs. Right? So advertisers know how to scare us to death, and so do political leaders, so do, unfortunately, pastors and churches, right? Just about every institution, schools, right? I'm not going to let mine off the hook either, know how to use fear. So let's just end with a brief prayer, if you're so inclined. Spirit of life and source of love, as we leave this place today and enter the world, our world, as diverse as each of our worlds are, let us carry a courage that is quiet enough to listen and loud enough to act. When the path ahead is uncertain, remind us that it doesn't take courage to do something we are not afraid to do. It takes courage to do that which we fear. May we be a source of hope for those who are weary, and a light for those who are searching for a way out of darkness. Amen. Okay.
Thank you, Gina. It doesn't take courage for me to say we enjoyed it. So each week as we worship, we welcome offerings that support the work of community. Many of us have already given our monetary gifts electronically. Still, we set aside this time for the spiritual practice of gratitude. Participants may give their offering in one of three ways listed on the screen if you're online there. If you're new to Tree of Life, let this giving opportunity pass you by. Your presence here is your gift to us. In whatever way you give, your generosity is greatly appreciated. Your offering will now be received. We give thanks for all these gifts and all the gifts that you bring to us. Please stand and body your spirit in singing hymn number 298, Wake Now My Senses.
Wake now my senses and hear the earth call. Feel the deep power of being in awe. Keep with the web of creation your vow. Giving, receiving as love shows us how. Wake now, compassion, give heed to the cry. Voices of suffering fill the wide sky. Take as your neighbor both stranger and friend, praying and striving their hardship to end.
Let us now extinguish our chalice. We extinguish this flame of communal worship and now carry its light within us. We share this light and carry its warmth to all whom we meet.
As you leave this sacred space, may you trust in the quiet strength that already lives within you. May you have the courage to face what you've been avoiding, to release what no longer serves you, and embrace the person you are becoming. May you remember that courage is not always measured by dramatic actions, but by each moment you choose to face fear head on. Go into this week with a spirit of confidence, knowing that you are enough and you can meet whatever comes your way each and every day. Life on this planet was never intended to be easy, but it is guaranteed that life on this planet will present us with opportunities for growth. Go into your respective lives and grow in peace, live in joy, and be love.